Watch this. One simple push technique gives you instant control over short ball exchanges, and your opponent won't even see the attack coming. Today we're breaking down push technique, the fundamental mechanics that let you control short ball exchanges and dictate the rally. Let's start with the wrist position. A lot of players push with the wrist flat or even dipped below the racket, creating a concave shape. That's a big problem. When you scoop like that, you can't generate spin, and no spin balls pop up high. The correct racket angle comes from keeping the wrist as the highest point, with both edges lower, forming an arch like a bridge. That arch lets you control the trajectory. The second mistake I see constantly is pushing with a flat or even upward tilted wrist. This is the most common error among amateur players, and it's deadly. Why? Because as soon as you push, the ball floats high. You need the wrist naturally set at the top, so the racket face can stay firm. When the wrist is set high like that, the tendons are already preloaded, contracted and ready. That means the contact time with the ball is extremely short, which is exactly what you want. The racket is already tensioned before you touch the ball. That's the first key point. Now the second point. There are two basic racket head orientations for pushing. One has the racket head pointing down. The other has it pointing to the side. It's not necessarily wrong in every situation. When handling short balls, a sideways racket head works well for short touches. So with the racket head to the side, you get a nice feel for short touches. But on long balls, if you try to add spin with that sideways orientation, you'll make mistakes. For long pushes where you want to load up the backspin, the racket head must point downward. That's the most basic requirement for generating heavy rotation. You must let your center of gravity push the stroke forward, carrying the arm along with it. The forearm's job is simply to fine-tune the arc and direction and add a touch of spin. Never push with the arm alone. When your body weight controls the motion, you control the trajectory, the placement, and the spin all at once. Another important detail: the distance between your starting position and where the racket finishes after contact should stay consistent. Don't let that gap change dramatically. If your backswing is 20 centimeters one time and then 40 the next, you lose control entirely. The shoulder pushes forward and drives the racket through the ball. That's what gives you stability. But with pushing, you have the best opportunity to combine forces. When my partner's ball is coming toward me and I step in to meet it, I'm merging the incoming momentum with my own forward press. That combined force is the key to producing heavy backspin on your push. You have to maximize that meeting point. Next, merge with the incoming ball. Don't take a big backswing. Just meet the force and combine with it. If the contact is slightly more collision than friction, that's fine at this stage. But you should be applying technique from the start, not building up slowly like a child. As adults, we take the shortest path to good habits. Now, here's the critical correction. If you go into the push hunched over and come out still hunched over, your center of gravity never changes. You need to start relatively upright and then press down through the stroke. That transition from tall to compressed is what real weight transfer looks like. You want that feeling of pressing down through the stroke, so your whole body contributes to the arc. The key is the shoulder, it has to lead. Push the front shoulder out first, and that pulls your center of gravity downward and forward. It's a combined force. The shoulder driving out creates a unified power that presses your arc down and loads your center of gravity at the same time. Now, here's an important concept. When your opponent serves a side spin backspin ball and your touch isn't refined enough, you get caught guessing. You want to attack, but the spin variation fools you, heavy side spin backspin. But how much spin exactly? Your fingers can't read the contact, so you misjudge the friction to collision ratio and miss. The solution: don't force the attack. First, push the ball back with quality. A controlled, low push neutralizes the tricky spin and converts it into a known, predictable backspin. Now the variation is gone. When you push back with pace and quality, your opponent's return loses its complexity. Even if they vary their wrist action, 60, maybe 70% of the spin is just backspin now. No more tricky sidespin topspin mixtures, no extreme sidespin backspin. The rotation becomes simple and predictable. Watch, my partner pushes one back to me, and look how clean this ball is coming through. Now it's easy to loop. Focus on placement, speed, and variation in your push, so the ball coming back carries only simple, known spin. When you attack that return, your consistency and success rate will be far higher than trying to attack the serve directly. The spin becomes predictable. No more guessing between sidespin topspin, sidespin backspin, half spin, heavy backspin, or heavy sidespin. You can't see your opponent's finger action at contact during the serve. Against someone at your level, converting unknown spin into known spin before attacking is the smarter play. At equal skill levels, if you can't read the spin and your loop technique isn't deep enough, your error rate climbs too high. After a few missed loops, you lose confidence. You stop attacking balls you should attack, and everything falls apart. Once that hesitation sets in, it infects everything. Your serves lose power, your pushes lose bite, and your whole game becomes dull and tentative. Here's a key point about contact direction. When you push, don't aim your stroke toward your opponent's side of the table. Instead, direct your force toward the bounce point on your own side, where the ball is rising off your table. Push into that upward bounce point. Direct your force into that bounce point, and the push locks in immediately. Settle your weight first, then solve the contact point. After you finish the push, spring back to ready position right away. You need to be prepared for the next ball. If you lunge forward and stay stuck over the table, you're stranded and can't recover for the second shot. Now for variation. Angle the wrist slightly forward at contact for extra spin. Angle it to the side, and you get a short touch that stays tight.
的方法，这就是能晃住谁。